Hi folks, I'm back with another video. This is one that I've been wanting to do for a while, I think, and it's to show a particular part of my collection, particular type of record. Now, back in the day, record companies used to release sampler records. They probably still do, I don't know. But these were sold usually at a fraction of the price of a normal album, and often became very popular and even charted. And obviously they were designed to promote the artists in their catalogue, their latest releases, etc. At the time I wasn't that fussed about them, never really came across them apart from with one exception. But later they started appearing on CD, expanded up to 3 CDs, and they were really excellent compilations. So I thought it might be fun to try and collect some of the originals on vinyl. You see a lot of them at record fairs and on Discogs, and they're usually fairly inexpensive. So I'd like to show you what I've amassed over the last 2 or 3 years, which is quite a few, so this is going to have to be a multi-part series, I'm afraid, if I'm not going to do my usual 35-minute plus videos. I'll have to make some notes to keep me straight, because otherwise my old brain won't remember everything I wanted to say. So these are all from 1968 to 1975. That's the period I was interested in. I think for this video I'll just stick to 1968 and 1969, and then we'll see how we go. Right, let's get started. And the first I wanted to show is a CBS sampler from 1968. That's Underground. Now you're going to see a lot from CBS. They seem to be the company that did these most often. So you're going to get a lot of the same acts repeated. I won't go through everything track by track, but I'll pick out the salient or the best tracks to tell you about. This was a German-only release and came on this lovely splatter vinyl. And on this one, I'll go through the whole set of bands. You've got the Electric Flag, Spirit, the Chambers Brothers, Leonard Cohen with Suzanne, Moby Grape, Big Brother and the Holding Company featuring Janis Joplin with Piece of My Heart, the United States of America, Blood, Sweat and Tears, Bob Dylan with Highway 61 Revisited, and Mike Bloomfield, Al Cooper, Stephen Stills from the Super Session album. That's the first one. Next one is from the Transatlantic label. Now, Transatlantic was a UK independent label that initially was set up in 1961 to import American folk and blues, but rapidly became an important label in the UK, particularly for folk music, though it did spread its wings into other areas. This is the 68 sampler Listen Here, and on this you've got bands like Pentangle, Ralph McTell, Gordon Giltrap, Burt Jansch and John Renbourn, the Ian Campbell Group, the Johnsons, the Sally Angie, which is Mike Oldfield and his sister, Bob Bunting, and then the last 2 tracks are non-folk. They're Ron Geesin, the avant-garde composer and musician who is most famous for his work with Pink Floyd on Atom Heart Mother, and finally the Purple Gang with their psych hit Granny Takes a Trip. Next up we have probably one of the more famous ones from CBS, The Rock Machine Turns You On. And like the the other album, you've got a lot of the same bands and artists like Bob Dylan and Moby Grape, Spirit. You've got the Zombies with Time of the Season, Peanut Butter Conspiracy are on here, Birds with Dolphin Smile, and Simon and Garfunkel with Scarborough Fair, Taj Mahal with Statesboro Blues. You've got Roy Harper, Tim Rose with Come Away Melinda, and Elmer Gantry's Velvet Opera. Now I don't know which came first, that one or this one, but here's the rock, another CBS one with Rock Machine, I Love You. And on here, again, a lot of the same ones, Blood, Sweat and Tears, Laura Nyro, The Byrds with You Ain't Going Nowhere. You've got Grace Slick and the Great Society with Somebody to Love. You've got, as she was then, Walton Carlos with the Brandenburg Concerto No. 3 from Switched On Bach. You've got Simon and Garfunkel's America. You've got John Simon. Now, John Simon, it seems, is an American music producer and composer. He produced the band's music from Big Pink and The Last Waltz and the band album itself. He produced Cheap Thrills by Big Brother and the Holding Company, Songs of Leonard Cohen, and Childish Father to the Man by Blood, Sweat and Tears. So a producer of some pedigree. This track is My Name is Jack, which is from the original soundtrack recording of the film You Are What You Eat, which is a 1968 American counterculture semi-documentary movie. And the final track on here is by Don Ellis and his orchestra. So that's the Rock Machine, I Love You. And that finishes 68, so we go on to 69. And the first one is another German-only release, Pop Revolution from the Underground. It's another CBS sampler. The die-cut cover, nice coloured splattered vinyl again. So again, lots of the usual suspects, Blood, Sweat and Tears, Spirit. You've got John Kay with a solo track, Electric Flag, James Brothers, Moby Grape, and Don Ellis again. So that was a German only release. Next, we've got a Polydor sampler, which is Supergroups. There we go. And on here you've got John Mayall, Blind Faith, Cat Mother and the All Night News Boys, Jack Bruce, Cream with Doing That Scrapyard Thing, Fat Mattress, Julie Driscoll, Brian Auger and the Trinity, the Savage Rose, who were a Danish band, sort of psych prog band, Taste, obviously Rory Gallagher, and Jimi Hendrix Experience with Little Miss Strange. That's Supergroups on Polydor. Next, a label that did quite a number of really good samplers, and that's Island, and this is Nice Enough to Eat from 1969. And on here you've got Fairport Convention, Mott the Hoople, Spooky Tooth, Jethro Tull, Free, Heavy Jelly. Now Heavy Jelly were was actually Skip Bifferty under a pseudonym, released only the one single. And the band actually featured members that would later go on to be part of Ian Dury and the Blockheads. You've also got on here Bloodwind Pig, Traffic with 40,000 Headmen, Nick Drake, King Crimson with 21st Century Schizoid Man, Quintessence, and Dr. Strangely Strange. So that's nice enough to eat. The next one, back to CBS, is one called Super Hypermost. Now, die cut cover again, comes on purple vinyl. Now it should have come with an insert, but mine didn't, so I'll have to look up the tracks and put a piece of paper inside the album. But on here you've got Johnny Winter, Hardin and York, Steamhammer, Aum, who were a minor San Francisco blues rock trio who did 2 albums. Janis Joplin with Cosmic Blues, It's a Beautiful Day, Al Kooper and Shuggie Otis, Santana, Laura Nyro, and Chicago. Super Hypermost. Again, that was like the others, was a German-only release. Next we have another island one, and I should have shown this first because this is the earliest island sampler, You Can All Join In. Sold for 14 shillings and 6 pence in the day, which I think nowadays would be about 75 pence. And on here you've got Jethro Tull with a song for Jeffrey, Spooky Tooth, Free with I'm a Mover, Art, Tramline, Traffic, Fairport Convention with their classic Meet on the Ledge, Nirvana, Johnny Martin, Clouds, the Spencer Davis Group, and Winder K. Frog. Winder K. Frog being Blue Weaver's band, the keyboardist who I think went on to play with the Strobes. This one, as I said, some of them were very popular, and this one actually charted at number 18 in the UK charts. Next we get back to CBS, we'll never get far from them, and that's Underground 70. Love that cover. This again was a German only release, and again comes on nice purple vinyl. I never seem to see any coloured vinyl when I was first collecting records. On here you've got quite a number of bands I hadn't heard of. You've also got Chicago, The Flock, Al Kooper, Chambers Brothers. You've got Appaloosa, who it seems are a folk rock band. You've got NRBQ, you've got Don Ellis, Pacific Gas and Electric, Spirit, Jacobs Creek, who are a little known American band, sort of in the realm of Grateful Dead and Jefferson Airplane, it seems. Moby Grape, Illinois Speed Press, a US rock band that combined elements of R&B and country. And you've got the psych band Aorta, who I've never heard of. It's Underground 70. Finally in 69, you've got a Decca sampler with the world of progressive music, 42 minutes, 32 seconds of Wowie Zowie. And you've got some great tracks on here by bands like Touch, John Mayall, Savoy Brown with their Train to Nowhere, which is a great track. Johnny Almond, East of Eden. You've got the track in the beginning from Genesis, which is from their very first album, Genesis to Revelation. You've got the Moody Blues with their classic Nights in White Satin. You've got the John Cameron Quartet, the Keith Hartley Band, And you've got a track by William R. Strickland. I had to look him up. And he's an American poet, singer, songwriter who paired up with keyboardist and synth player Philip Springer for an album of early electronics mixed with beat poetry and prog rock. Okay. 1970, and the first one we've got here is back to the CBS one, and that's In Good Company. Like the cover with the sort of like Yellow Submarine figures, film figures. And here you've got Chicago Spirit. It's a Beautiful Day with probably their most famous track, White Bird. You've got the heavy psych prog band Black Widow, Santana with Evil Ways, Argent, The Byrds with Ballad of Easy Rider, heavy psych prog band Gun, and the superb British folk rock band Trees. Next up, the second volume in the Polydor Supergroups samplers, Supergroups Volume 2. And on here you've got Ashton and Gardner and Dyke, the Savage Rose, as I said, a Danish psych prog band, Jack Bruce, Area Code 615, who are I think better known over here for the theme tune to All Grey Whistle Test, Tony Williams' Lifetime, John Mayall, 10 Wheel Drive, Cat Mother and the All Night Newsboys, Taste, Ginger Baker's Air Force, and a track by a band called Gas, who it seems are a band that mix soul, Latin, blues and progressive rock. And Peter Green actually plays on the track that's on here, Black Velvet. Next, and guess what? Back to CBS with more heavy sounds. And again, the usual suspects, the Byrds with It's All Over Now, Baby Blue, Taj Mahal, Chicago with I'm a Man, Janis Joplin, Johnny Winter with his version of Highway 61 Revisited, Santana and others. The second one from a sampler I've got from Transatlantic is next, and this is Heads and Tails, and it's a double album. And I like this shot in the middle with all the acts that are featured on the album. And on here you've got tracks by Ralph McTell, Pentangle, The Humble Bums, Pete Bardens, who was the keyboardist with Camel, John James, Jody Grind, Bert Jansch, Errol Dixon, Young Tradition with a superb version of Lightweight Dirge, Stefan Grossman, Stray, the heavy rock band, so he saw that it's not all folk or roots-based music with Transatlantic, Duffy Power, John Renbourn, Storyteller, the Johnstons, the superb British folk rock band Mr. Fox, and finally the prog band Marsupilami. It's a good sampler, this one. Next, a new label, and that's Probe with the album Handle with Care. Now, Probe was an American label initially that was owned by the US ABC Records Group, but in the UK it was launched in 1970 by EMI to license ABC and Dunhill acts, and it existed until 1974. And on here you've got Steppenwolf, you've got Freedom, who were a band formed of former Procol Harum members, Ray Royer and Bobby Harrison, who had actually performed on Whiter Shade of Pale. You've got B.B. King, James Gang, Three Dog Night, and a Canadian rock band I hadn't heard of called Bush, who were a sort of hard rock blues band. The same acts appear on the second side with different songs. Next up, another CBS one, and probably again one of the more famous ones, Fill Your Head with Rock. There you go, 29 and 10 for a double album. Nice inner. This had again a lot of the usual suspects: Chicago, Santana, Spirit. You had Steam Hammer, Flock, Black Widow with probably their most famous track, Come to the Sabbath, Argent, The Birds, Skin Alley, Moondog with Stomping Ground, Armory Kane, another track by Trees, Al Stewart, the great Al Stewart, Tom Rush, Janis Joplin with Try Just a Little Bit Harder, Taj Mahal, Johnny Winter. And this came with a nice inner booklet featuring the acts and their discographies on CBS at the time. Oops. That's a good set of tracks there. And finally, for 1970, we get an Islands one. This wasn't quite well known, Bumpers. There we go. And this had tracks by Traffic, Bronco, Spooky Tooth with their version of I Am the Walrus. Now, that it seems is a different version from the one that appeared on their last Puff album. It has a different lead guitar, it seems. Quintessence, that was meant to be off their second album, but is in fact an unavailable live version of their Jesus, Buddha, Moses, Guaranga track. Mott the Hoople, Jethro Tull, Jimmy Cliff, Blodwyn Pig, Dave Mason, and that was a track called Little Woman, which is only an obscure B-side. John and Beverly Martin, King Crimson's Cadence and Cascade, which to fit on here has been chopped by a minute, it seems. The British jazz rock band If, Free with Oh I Wept, which it seems has a completely different vocal track from the album version. Nick Drake, Fairport Convention with Walk a While, Cat Stevens, Renaissance, that's the original Renaissance, Fotheringay, the Sandy Denny band, and finishes off with Clouds. So that's the ones from 68 to 70. I hope you found it of interest. I'll try and get the other one done ASAP, and I hope you'll come back and watch that. Cheers.